Ohio State must do whatever it takes to beat Texas to keep their pursuit of a national championship alive.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. During today's show, I'll go over my score prediction one more time, as well as one thing the Buckeyes must do tonight against Texas. But before we get to any of that, Ohio State must do whatever it takes to beat Texas to keep their pursuit of a national championship alive. Texas is just the next team in the Buckeyes' way as they pursue and chase a national championship. It's been the mission all season, is to win the Natty. Now, there's been some obstacles. There's been some things along the way that have upset Ohio State that has caused some frustration. There's also been a lot of success. All of that has led Ohio State to this point right now where they're one game away to being in the national championship game, which is huge. Being in the Final Four is huge. But Ohio State can't take it for granted. Ohio State can't change and go away from the mission that Ryan Day set out for the Buckeyes at the beginning of the playoff, which is to do whatever it takes. We've heard Ryan Day numerous times say, leave no doubt. Those three words have been in my head the entire postseason run because I believe the Buckeyes have bought into doing whatever it takes and to leave no doubt while they're out there on the field. That's the same thing against Texas. You can look at the numbers. You can see what they did against Arizona State. You can look and see what they did against Clemson. You can look at their record in the regular season. Yeah, they made it to the SEC championship game. That's great. That's a good accomplishment. While Ohio State didn't make it to the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State is currently playing better than Texas, which is why the Buckeyes' regular season and the previous two games, those mean a lot, but you can't buy into that. Neither from Texas's narrative, from Ohio State's narrative. You can't buy into all of that. Buy into what you have seen lately, and what you have done for me lately, not me personally, but what the Buckeyes have done for themselves is play great football. Now, I'm not one that uses that word great a lot, but that's how I describe Ohio State and how they played recently. They have come out and set the tone. They have come out and been very, very physical. They have played fast. They have played violent. They have played smart. All the things you want from a football team, Ohio State is displaying those right now. And for Texas tonight, Texas is coming in. They're not too far from home. They have snow down there in Dallas, which is another wrinkle and obstacle for both teams, not just the Ohio State Buckeyes. But Texas is going to come in confident. They have an offensive lineman back that wasn't able to go against Arizona State. So they're a stronger team. They are all bought in on the mission that Steve Sarkisian has set them out to accomplish this year. However, it's the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's not just the Ohio State Buckeyes. It's the Buckeyes that are playing in a way that I don't believe the formula that Ryan Day has right now is able to be cracked by Texas. I do not. Texas will have to play an A++ game to beat Ohio State. Do I see that happening? No. Do I think Texas has played an A++ game this year? Not really. I think there's been some issues here and some issues there. They're here in the Final Four, which is why I say the stuff that happened previously, it matters for the story of the big picture. But for right now, neither team can focus on what's happened previously. They must focus on right now. For Will Howard, for Quinshon Judkins, TreVeyon, Henderson, the O-line, the D-line, Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom, everybody on this team, they must keep the whatever it takes mindset in this game. If Ryan Day or Chip Kelly says, Will Howard, you're running the ball 10+ times, go do it. If they say, hey, Cardinal Tate, you're getting 7 or 8 targets, make sure that happens. Jeremiah Smith, Emeka, Egbuka, they're going to get their touches. I still think you got to target Jeremiah Smith a lot. Going to touch on that very aspect later on in today's show. But Ohio State and the players, while the game plan for Oregon and for Tennessee worked, I believe the game plan tonight's going to work as well. But there might be some different looks. There might be some different wrinkles. There might be some things that we have not seen Ohio State do, and they may call for certain guys to be a bigger piece of the pie. That's okay. That's simply whatever it takes for tonight's game. If Jim Knowles uses 3 down linemen versus 4, cool. Whatever it takes, Jim Knowles, keep that thing moving. And for Ohio State, and Ryan Day, there's a belief right now that this team is not just on a mission, but everybody is bought in. And I don't know if that's something we would have said 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. But right now, everybody is bought in, from the players and the coaches. And I think everyone has the whatever it takes mindset. Play violent, play fast, play physical, and just do whatever is needed. If it means going up tempo offense, great. If Ryan Day wants to go back to the slow, methodical approach on offense, which I don't think is what he should do, but if it is what he decides to do tonight, roll with it. If you get up big, keep your foot on the gas and keep pushing and keep pursuing that big margin of victory tonight, because I believe Ohio State can blow Texas out. I think if Ohio State's playing their best and Texas does the things that they did the past couple of games, I think Ohio State is head and shoulders better than Texas right now. And I'm not here to just throw hot takes out. I'm not here to just say, well, I'm an Ohio State guy. No, the film shows me that Will Howard is very efficient. There's only one Jeremiah Smith. There's only one Emeka Egbuka. They happen to be on the same team. There's only one Carnell Tate. There's only one Brandon Ennis. All four of those guys happen to be playing tonight against Texas, might be playing at the same time. It wouldn't shock me now a little bit, but I wouldn't be mad if they rolled out there and went 4 wide tonight and just changed things up completely, because that's not the norm. Ohio State generally has at least one tight end out there. Occasionally they have two. Sometimes we have seen 14 personnel, one running back, 4 tight ends. That's not the norm. But Ohio State and Chip Kelly, just do whatever it takes, man. Like, that's just the main mission we have seen so far this year. And that should be exactly the focus tonight. Do whatever it takes. And if that's the case, if the Buckeyes keep on the same mission and realize the mission hasn't changed, at the end of the day, they'll be lifting up that Cotton Bowl trophy and preparing to play either Notre Dame or Penn State in the Cotton Bowl. At the time of this recording, that game is not even kicked off yet, so we don't know even who's at the upper hand right now in the game, because we're recording before that game starts, because your boy wants to watch as much of that game as he can, because that's a big-time game. That's one of those games that if you were a college football fan of the 80s or the 90s, you realize Notre Dame and Penn State is huge. And those two teams in the Final Four, 2 black head coaches as well at the FBS level, stuff we've never seen before. I'm here for the history. I am here for whatever James Franklin and Marcus Freeman do tonight. And I'm here for a good game. I am simply here for a good game. And my pick for that game wasn't really planning on doing this right now, but since it's on my mind, I got Penn State. I got James Franklin, big game James, going in there, down there at the Orange Bowl, it beating Notre Dame tonight, 20-17, and Penn State will advance to play either Ohio State or Texas in the national championship. I know that may shock a lot of you, but for some odd reason, with the injuries on Notre Dame's side, I have a thought and a belief that Penn State will get it done tonight. I also believe Ohio State's going to get it done tonight. I'll spell my score prediction one more time later on in the show, but I think with the way Ohio State's playing, physical, violent, fast football, everyone's on the same page, everyone has a whatever it takes mindset, I think that's the calling card for Ohio State to beat Texas tonight in the Lone Star State as they continue their march to an national championship. Now, one thing Ohio State must do tonight is something they have done very well in the first 2 games they played in the playoffs. We'll dive into those next. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions, whether you've got one form or 20. TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by the pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Thank you all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. It's a game day. We're going to have an extra show coming your way later on this morning. 2 shows on a game day. It's what we do around here at Locked On Buckeyes. Also, got our live Buckeyes, Locked On Buckeyes squad show at the conclusion of tonight's Cotton Bowl between Ohio State and Texas. Myself, Jeff Hunt, and Barrett Lee will all be chopping it up at the conclusion of the Cotton Bowl tonight. One thing Ohio State has done consistently in the playoff is use their speed in space to kill the opposition. And with Texas's defense being one that can at times have a way to overcome some things Ohio State's going to throw at Texas, I do think Ohio State's speed in space is going to kill the Longhorns. And this is not just Jay trying to be a hot take guy on a game day. When you look at what Ohio State has done offensively in the playoff the past couple of games, it's not just the speed and space with Egbuka, with Jeremiah Smith, with Carnell Tate. They have gotten TreVeyon Henderson out there in space, and the next thing you know, he's running up the sideline for 66 yards en route to a trip to a pay dirt. Quinshawn Judkins, not the whole speed and space kind of guy when you think about it, but he knows how to use his own speed and the space that he has to kill the opposition. And that's one thing I believe Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and Brian Hartline, the co-OC, are going to do a lot tonight. They're going to find more ways to use the Buckeyes' speed and space to kill the Longhorns. One thing I think about when it comes to speed and space, the defenses use their speed in space to kill the opposition. Think about it. We have seen Denzel Burke. We have seen all the time, Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs, David Thigpen use their speed in space to make plays at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage or for short gains by the offense because they're knowing how to use angles. They're knowing how to use their own speed and to attack the space that's right in front of them. So no, the speed and space killing the opposition. It's not just about the Buckeyes offense, even though it's going to get a lot of the conversation. Going to get a lot of the attention. That's what I meant to say. The Buckeyes defense is the same thing. The Buckeyes defense is fast. They're physical. They're playing violent. They know how to use angles. Their pursuit angles are way better than they were earlier this year and even a couple years ago. This defense has come a long way. These players have been developed into being really good football players, into being elite football players because they've understood angles. They've understood their own speed better. They've gotten faster, but they know how to use that combination and use it to be very, very violent out there. And when it comes to Texas tonight, their numbers, they're actually better than you might think. Texas is 21st in the country in points per game at 34.3. They're 4th in opponents' points per game at 14.5. Ohio State in the number category, statistically, they are 11th in scoring offense at 36.4. They're first in scoring defense. They're only giving up 12.1 points per game. When we think about Ohio State only giving up 12.1 points per game, the Buckeye speed comes to mind. Ohio State and Jim knows realizing how to even rotate guys in the secondary or up front to utilize their speed in the right way. And tonight, when it comes to Quinn Ewers, when it comes to Jahdae Barron, when it comes to the guys on Texas, they're very, very talented. But once Ohio State figures out the right way to use their speed in space to kill the Longhorns, I don't believe the Longhorns have an answer. I don't at all. One thing I think about when it comes to Jeremiah Smith in space and Egbuka in space is, let's just say Chip Kelly once again lines up Jeremiah Smith wide, either on the right side or the left side, but right there on the inside of Jeremiah Smith is Egbuka. And at the snap of the ball, Jeremiah Smith is running a go route, but next thing you know, Egbuka has an option route. And Egbuka is reading that safety. And 9 times out of 10, that safety, if they have Jeremiah Smith going up in a go route down the field or the go route, but Egbuka on an option route, that safety is going to go to number 4, not to number 2. Then you want to say, Jay, is that a disrespect to Egbuka? No, it's just massive respect for Jeremiah Smith and the player that he is. And that's the speed and space aspect that Ohio State has. Even with Carnell Tate. Now, he's not as good as Egbuka or Jeremiah Smith. He is still a really good football player. But even Carnell Tate, he knows how to use his own physical body, his own speed, and the space that he has to kill the opposition. I think it's one of the massive benefits that Ohio State has and that they've learned along the way this year is how to use their own speed in a way that the opposition has no answer for. One of the guys I am watching tonight is TreVeyon Henderson, and that's one guy that has been playing phenomenal ball this year in his final year in Columbus, wearing the scarlet and gray. And I do think when it comes to TreVeyon Henderson tonight, his speed's going to kill. As good as Texas's defense is, I don't believe they're ready for Henderson's speed out of the backfield. They may have a great game plan for Jeremiah Smith, Emeka, Egbuka, Carnell Tate. Even got to throw G. Scott Jr. out there because I think he may be a guy that gets 3 or 4 targets tonight. It's very hard to account for or even prepare for TreVeyon Henderson's speed because that boy gets the ball either on a screen pass or a pass to the flat or just a zone read. Next thing you know, one cut and go, 15 yards, 66 yards, 48 yards. Why? Because you just can't prepare for it. You honestly can't. Well, it's one thing in the first matchup with Oregon that I think was very telling. Dylan Gabriel's left-handed. And while Ohio State had Aaron Nolan on the roster at the time, being the scout team quarterback, who was also a left-handed, it's very hard to prepare in practice for the game speed of a left-handed quarterback. Then you add in that Dylan Gabriel short and quick and shifty. He's able to slip his way around trying to elude tacklers. It's very hard to prepare for that, which is why I think Dylan Gabriel had the success that he had in the first meeting. Also, the defense didn't really get any pressure on him, which made his job a whole lot easier. Same thing goes with TreVeyon Henderson. Henderson's speed in space is going to kill Texas tonight. I don't know if he's going to start. He may be a backup. Truly what we have found is that these two running backs, it doesn't matter who starts. It doesn't matter who's the backup. They both understand their roles, and they have been doing all season long following the whatever it takes mindset. Hey, Coach Locklear, what you want? Hey, Lock wants this. Cool, we got to roll with it. Oh, we're going to change it up on the fly. Cool, we're going to roll with it. It truly doesn't matter who starts, who gets more carries. They feed off each other so well. And TreVeyon Henderson realizes, hey, man, hey, Q, you got that good run? I'm coming for you. Next thing you know, Henderson goes for 8, and he runs over a tackler. Okay, Henderson gets 3 plays. Next thing you know, Quincy Judkins comes in. A different style of running back, but Q comes in, runs over one guy, runs over another, goes for 12. Very next play, has to block, blows the guy up. Okay, you got your run. Henderson comes back in. He blows the guy up. He blows the guy up. Next thing you know, that second time he blows the guy up in pass pro, it's a touchdown to Jeremiah Smith. Literally whatever it takes. We have seen that all season long. So Ohio State's mindset tonight is not only doing whatever it takes, but make sure the Buckeyes offensively and defensively use their speed and space to kill the Longhorns. And while that's a mission, I think Ohio State's prepared and ready to accomplish that goal. One thing that is going to be an interesting thing to watch tonight is a coaching matchup between Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian. I'll tell you why next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. You can also use that $5 bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. On a game day, it's the Cotton Bowl Classic tonight. It's Ohio State and Texas down there in Jerry's World. I can't wait. 7:30 Eastern kick. We get Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler on the call this game. Holly Rowe as well. I'm not sure who the other sideline reporter is going to be. If I did know that right now, I would shout her out on the show too. Look forward to that big game broadcast crew. Looking forward to this game tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing the coaching matchup between Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian. In 2020, Ohio State, as odd as that year was, Ohio State found their way in year 200 Ryan Day in the national championship. Alabama was in a roll that year, roll of the SEC, rolled through the playoff, rolled through Ohio State that day of the national championship. And it was a pretty bad game that Ohio State fans don't want to remember. I honestly remember that. But one thing I think is very interesting is that this isn't the first time that Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian have been on the opposite sidelines in a game, because Sark was on the sideline for Alabama, was the OC for the Crimson Tide that day, and he, just torched the Buckeyes defense. Ohio State scored, 24 points? Bama scored over 50. It was not even close. They may have been close to some people on the scoreboard. Trust me, when I'm watching that game, Ohio State wasn't winning that game. Not at all. And I remember doing a radio hit a couple days before that game, and I said, hey, man, I got Ohio State winning this. And, buddy, I was wrong. And I'm very curious if that loss and Sark being on the opposition in that day provides added motivation for Ryan Day. Yes, Ryan Day remembers a Cotton Bowl last year. Ryan Day remembers a feeling when he walked off the field. I remember seeing pictures and videos of Ryan Day walking off the field, dejected and really upset about what happened and what went wrong that day. When you look on the other side today, you're looking at a man that put together an elite game plan the last time you faced him and allowed that game plan to do whatever it wanted to do against the Buckeyes that day. This is in January as well. The last meeting was in January. It may have been on January 10th. I don't know that exactly, but it could have been on January 10th. And one thing I think for Ryan Day is he has found ways to overcome lots of obstacles, no matter if it was Tennessee, no matter if it was Oregon. This year, I think Ryan Day is realizing he has some things that he can do to add motivation to himself, for big games like this. And I think Ryan Day is rolling into this game realizing, Sark, I know what happened the last time we were on opposite sidelines. I remember exactly the feeling I had watching Devonta Smith go right up the middle of the field to score. And I remember exactly seeing Mac Jones manage that game to perfection. I remember seeing Najee Harris do what he did against the Buckeyes defense. He remembers all that. I remember, was it Christian Barmer, the D tackle, D lineman, forget his name, but I saw him wreck the Buckeyes O-line that day. I remember all of that, and Ryan Day is going to have something for Sark tonight. Ryan Day in 2019 fell to Dabo. Next year, we remember what happened. Ryan Day earlier this year fell to Dan Lanning. The next time they met, we all remember what happened. While Sark wasn't the head coach of the Alabama team that day, it was Nick Saban. I do think Ryan Day is going to use it as motivation and realize he ain't about to let the Longhorns defense do that, have success tonight. No, not at all. This is not a knock against Texas. I've said it all week. I was on with the crossover with early this week at Locked On Longhorns. I was on with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football, but saying all week, Texas is good. You have to be a good team to get this far in the playoff. They have good quarterback. They have good running backs. Their O-line is good. Got good receivers. Their defense is one of the best in the country. Texas is a good football team. Ohio State is just better. Ohio State has a better offense. Ohio State has a better defense. Ohio State's quarterback has been playing better. Ohio State safeties have been playing better. Ohio State's running backs have been playing better. Ohio State's O-line and D-line have been winning the battle in the trenches every single week. Texas is good. Ohio State is just better. And Ryan Day knows that. And while Ohio State is just better, Ryan Day is not just going to let their talent be better. His game plan is going to be better to torch the Longhorns tonight. Now, I'd say torch. You might say, Jay, you may be thinking Ohio State's going to be winning this thing 45-8, 52-10. I ain't going that far. I am not. Because I do realize there's one more game left after this for Ohio State if they win tonight. My pick for tonight is Ohio State beating Texas. Ohio State 31, Texas 14. It's been my pick all week long, and it has not changed because I do realize at some point they might take the foot off the gas just a tad. Kind of ease off that thing just a little bit and realize we got another game to play. We want to rest our bodies. There's a lot of controversy in the NFL. A lot of people, well, not controversy. A lot of people upset. Then the Chiefs rested all their starters, and then the Broncos got in the playoffs, and man, the Bengals should be mad. Okay. How about both teams not be in a situation to where if a team they're playing at the end of the year rests their starters against a team that's trying to get in the playoffs, Oh man, that's a trickle-down effect. That's really bad. It's not fair. Life's not fair. The Chiefs earned the right to rest their players. The Broncos won that day. The Bengals didn't do enough in the regular season to not be in that situation, and the chips fell where they did. Sorry, y'all, life's not fair. Texas is good. I do think Ohio State at some point will be up and have a comfortable lead and ease off the gas, because just like the Chiefs, they wanted to rest their players for the NFL playoffs. The Buckeyes are going to rest their players. While they might still be playing, they're going to rest them a little bit to prepare for the national championship. Ohio State 31, Texas 14. Texas is good. Ohio State is just better. Longhorn fans will not like that statement. Some of them will realize, though, that what Jay is saying right now is true. Texas's offense is good. Ohio State's is better. Texas's defense is a top 5 defense in the country. Ohio State's might be the best. Ohio State is better. Texas got to the Final Four. That's where the road stops for the Longhorns in the 2024 college football season. Thank you all for tapping in to Locked On Buckeyes here on the Feel Good Friday. We're going to have one more show coming out on a Friday. I almost said Monday. I'm not there yet. On a Friday, probably mid-morning. Get that out to you. Be a shorter show, more of a Buckeye Blitz style to get you a little bit more of a Buckeye fix on a massive game day. It's a Cotton Bowl Classic down there at AT&T Stadium. Hope everybody traveling doesn't have any issues with the snow down there in Dallas, and I hope we have a good game tonight and another Buckeye win as the Buckeyes continue their pursuit of a national championship. You can follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky or Threads at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're up out of here, Buckeye fans, on a Friday, a game day. We'll see y'all tonight after the game.